The Dallas Cowboys are finally conducting what can truly be described as a
Did
real—
the Dallas Cowboys just reveal the secret to dominating the season? Or are we about to see a detail that almost no one noticed explain why the team might crumble? What happened in the last few hours could irreversibly change the franchise's future. And I, Renan, am here to dissect every move on this chessboard that is the 2026 NFL season. Explosive on and off the field, my friends, because the atmosphere at AT&T Stadium and behind the scenes at the training center is pure adrenaline and a tension you can feel in the air. We are facing news that mixes the glare of the spotlight with the shadows of off-field controversies, and every decision made now by Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones will echo throughout the recent history of our Lone Star. It's a moment for reflection, critical analysis, and understanding that, with the Dallas Cowboys, nothing is just a simple news story, but rather a chapter in a thrilling visual chronicle that we experience game by game, day after day. Before we delve into these updates that are shaking up the league's structure, I want to extend an invitation to you, the Dallas Cowboys Report fanatic. If you want to be part of the most passionate, informed, and engaged community on YouTube, click the subscribe button now and join us at 242,000 subscribers. Don't forget to leave a like, which strengthens our work, and of course, comment below. What are your feelings today seeing our team's moves? Your participation is the fuel that keeps this channel number one in viewership and relevance regarding the Dallas team. And I make a point of reading every opinion so we can build this journey together. Let's start by talking about what's not so good, something that caught everyone by surprise in the dead of night. Donovan Ezaraku was arrested between Sunday night and Monday morning, exactly around midnight, depending on the time zone you were following social media in. He was charged with reckless driving and was subsequently released after posting bail. But the impact of this news behind the scenes is immense. As of the writing of this report, the specific details of what he actually did have not been fully disclosed by the Texas Department of Public Safety, which issued a somewhat redundant statement, practically paraphrasing the reckless driving charge itself without providing context for what occurred on those dark streets. What we do know is that Donovan Ezaraku, a young NFL talent, made a questionable decision in the middle of the night, possibly pushing the accelerator too hard or failing at basic maneuvers, which brings immense frustration to the fans and the coaching staff. Although a formal suspension from the NFL is not expected, as the league usually lets the teams resolve these reckless driving incidents internally, the symbolic weight of this is fraught with disappointment. Donovan Ezaraku had been the target of numerous accolades, both from his teammates and the specialized media, for the professional and mature way he conducted himself in the Dallas Cowboys locker room. He was seen as a role model, and now this off-field error creates an inevitable and painful parallel with Sam Williams' history. It's impossible not to look at this situation and feel a pang of concern, remembering that Williams, also a high-caliber defender and second-round pick, faced similar problems with vehicles. Seeing a player with so much potential repeating seemingly avoidable mistakes makes fans question the culture of accountability outside the lines, even if Ezaraku still deserves credit for his exemplary conduct up to this slip-up. While we deal with this controversy, the focus shifts to the relentless search for a new Cowboys defensive coordinator. The gears are turning, and interviews with Zack and Jonathan Gannon are scheduled for today, marking a decisive step in restructuring our defense under the watchful eye of Mike McCarthy. The Dallas Cowboys seem to be in no hurry, opting for a real and thorough search instead of a rushed internal promotion, indicating that Jerry Jones is willing to wait for elite names. However, this strategic patience runs into contractual obstacles, as we saw in the case of Jeff Ulbrich. The Falcons exercised their prerogative to reject the Cowboys' interview request, keeping Ulbrich under their control, which shows us that the 2026 NFL market is more competitive than ever, and nobody wants to hand over their best talent to a direct rival. Brian Bradis brought a piece of information that ignites a flame of hope. The Cowboys seem willing to wait for the situations of Brian Flores and Jim Schwartz to unfold before finally having their chance at an interview. It's a game of patience and nerves of steel, as these two names are considered the big fish in this carousel of coaches. Brian Flores, in particular, is a fascinating and polarizing figure, with the Raiders and Steelers closely monitoring his every move. There's even a rumor that the Commanders leaked an interest in Flores just to appear to be looking for a big name, although the tactical compatibility with Dan Quinn's scheme is highly questionable. Flores has the Miami history, the lawsuit against the league, and the whole narrative about how he handled Tua, but no one denies that. When it comes to pure defensive strategy, he is one of the masters of the current game. Jim Schwartz is also a key piece of this puzzle, but his contractual situation with the Cleveland Browns adds a layer of bureaucratic complexity. Since he's under contract and a move to the Cowboys would be a lateral move, the Browns have the power to hold on to him unless he secures a head coach position. This puts us in a forced holding pattern where time is our biggest enemy, especially with the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Game just around the corner. Having a defined coordinator is essential for the draft process, and the lack of a fixed name could compromise the evaluation of new talents who dream of wearing the Lone Star. The Dallas Cowboys need this leader to shape the identity of the defense that will protect Dak Prescott's legacy next season, and each day without a decision increases the anxiety of a fan base that can no longer bear to come so close. Continuing our special coverage on Cowboys Report, we now enter a zone of in-depth analysis of the tactical landscape surrounding Brian Flores and Jim Schwartz, figures who represent the pinnacle of what the NFL market has to offer right now. Brian Flores' case is a true chronicle of expectations and behind-the-scenes strategies that intensely fuel Cowboys rumors. Imagine the scenario: a coach who has already proven his worth in the elite, but who now finds himself at a crossroads where every decision impacts the future of several franchises simultaneously. Cowboys news indicates that teams like the Raiders, Ravens, and even the Steelers, where he previously worked, are monitoring his situation, placing the Dallas team in a position of calculated waiting. Some say the Commanders leaked their interest in him simply to gain traction in the headlines. But the truth is that Flores' aggressive style could be the necessary thermal shock for our defense at AT&T Stadium. However, the lawsuit he filed against the league and the way his time in Miami ended, especially regarding his relationship with Tua, are still points of intense debate that Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones need to carefully consider. If Flores doesn't get a head coach position, he will have the power to choose where he wants to be the Cowboys' defensive coordinator, and that's where the weight of the Lone Star comes in, serving as a platform for him to increase his market value, just as Marvin Lewis did years ago when he left the Baltimore Ravens. This movement creates a domino effect that affects other names on the front office's wish list. If Brian Flores moves, Dante Jones's fate with the Vikings could also change drastically, as he could follow Flores or take over the position left vacant in Minnesota. This uncertainty is what defines the NFL coaching carousel in 2026, where patience is not just a virtue, but a strategic necessity to avoid ending up with a second-tier pick. Meanwhile, Jim Schwartz's name continues to echo in the training corridors. Schwartz is a master of technique, but he's under contract with the Browns, and unless he leaves to become a head coach, Cleveland has every right to block a lateral move to Dallas. It's a frustrating situation for the fan, but it shows how much these professionals are valued by their current teams. We also have the situation of Jim Leonhard, who is still in the playoff race with the Denver Broncos. You can't sign a man who's still fighting for the title, and if Vance Joseph stays in Denver, Leonard might choose to continue there, which would force us to look for other alternatives in a market that doesn't forgive hesitation. On the other hand, while we're focused on who might step in to lead the defense, a silent threat is emerging on the offensive side of the ball, and the name at the center of this controversy is Steve Shimco. Dak Prescott's current quarterbacks coach is attracting attention due to his deep connection with Jeff Hafley. Hafley, who has been doing a remarkable job as the Packers coordinator, has a direct history with Shimco since their time at Boston College. In that college environment, Shimco started as a tight ends coach, moved up to quarterbacks, and finished his journey there as offensive coordinator before joining the Dallas Cowboys. Now, with Jeff Hafley being interviewed for several head coach positions with teams like Arizona, Miami, Atlanta, and Tennessee, the risk of seeing Steve Shimco following in his mentor's footsteps is real and worrying. The market generally allows assistants to leave for career promotions, and losing the man who shapes Dak Prescott's game right now would be a hard blow to the continuity of our offensive system. It's the bitter side of success, where the Dallas Cowboys news often has to deal with the dismantling of its coaching staff in favor of the individual growth of its professionals. All this movement of pieces leads us to a critical point: time. The Senior Bowl and the Shrine Game are scheduled for the end of this month, and they are fundamental events for the success of our draft. It is on these fields that the future talents of the 2026 NFL are evaluated in detail, and the Dallas Cowboys desperately need to have their new Cowboys defensive coordinator present at these sessions. The lack of a defined leadership could delay the scouting process and leave the team a step behind rivals who have already stabilized their coaching staffs. The urgency is real, but the mistake of hiring the wrong person simply out of haste could be even more costly. In the long run, Mike McCarthy knows his seat is hot, and Jerry Jones understands that the window of opportunity for this group won't stay open forever. The pressure is palpable in every interview conducted, from promising names like Zack and Jonathan Gannon to established legends we are still waiting to talk to. Ultimately, being a Dallas Cowboys fan is like living on this emotional roller coaster where news of Donovan Ezaraku's arrest can shake the locker room atmosphere, while the hope for a defensive genius renews our strength. Critical analysis shows that the defense has had its moments of brilliance, but the secondary still presents dangerous gaps that need to be corrected by whoever takes the job. The franchise's future depends on this choice, on the ability